This is why having a healthy level of competition will always put you ahead of the curve. If you're someone who is constantly moving towards your goal, but you don't have anything that you are equally running away from, you are simply not motivated enough or have enough urgency because there isn't something or someone that you are also trying to compete with. Now, am I saying that we should be competing male and female? No, not necessarily, because in a dynamic where it's male and females, that's more of a place where each part should play their roles. Now, when it comes to actually doing amazing in business, that can just be a numerical number, and you want to have a healthy level of competition. But if you happen to have that level of competition also be someone of the opposite sex, I would suggest steering away from that simply because we operate on a different level, both females and males. We have our strengths and we have our weaknesses. So you're not really playing at the same playing field. For example, we had in the Olympics transgender women going into the Olympics and they were just winning everything at 5 minutes, a mile or something like that. Everything was just, it was just more proficient physically because males are built differently than females. They operate on a 24-hour cycle where their cortisol spikes, where their hormones are constantly in a rhythm that resets every 24 hours. For females, our rhythm resets every single month, so every 30 days. So we have periods and times where we're most optimal, where we should be more relaxed, and then utilizing those things to our advantage will help us move along much quicker in order to achieve our goals. Now, when it comes to having a healthy level of competition, it's never there's this book that is called The 38 Letters that John D. Rockefeller wrote to his son. And he said that today is the saddest day because my number one rival or competitor has passed away today. And the reason why he's sad regarding the passing away of his rival isn't because there isn't any underlying deep animosity. It's simply a healthy level of competition that inspires you to push on and be better and do more. And when you don't have that, or someone at that level who you're striving to compete with, then you don't have a healthy level of competition and you're simply just way more lax. When you are more lax, you give into the illusion of time. When you give into the illusion of time, you think you have all the time in the world to get everything that you need done, when in actuality, you are not getting as much done as you possibly could have if you would have set one, proper goals, two, met the timeline in which you set those goals, and three, had either something that you're running away from, or four, a healthy level of competition pushing you to do more and be better. Now, you can also say that your competition is the person who you were yesterday. So now you have to show up. If you're showing up as your best self every single day, then you have to evolve to beat that person of who you were yesterday. When you do this, you are setting a healthy level of competition without needing to externalize it. Because also remember, where energy goes, consciousness flows. So when you're constantly thinking about someone else or something else, that's where your energy goes. If you are inwardly focusing your energy on yourself and how you can become better, then you are transmuting the energy that could have been put towards someone else and putting that towards yourself. And when you put that towards yourself, you amplify your energy. Now, there are ways that this can benefit you or that this can harm you. In ways that it can benefit you is that your auric field, so, your heart has rhythm and it produces this electrical magnetic field around you. As it does that, when you are focusing with your mind and your mind's eye, you are amplifying the energy that you hold and you are pushing yourself to new bounds in which you are expanding rather than having thought placed somewhere else and then having that person's energetic field expand. Now, if you're happening to think of someone else, but you happen to be thinking about them in a way where it's not a positive, then you are operating with ill intent. And when you operate with ill intent, that will simply be reflected back to you and it will likely come back 10 times worse. So we want to avoid having fixated ideation on others who we deem as competition, especially if it's not coming from a healthy place. If it's coming from a healthy place, like, oh, I want you to do the best. I want you to be the best. But guess what? But when Friday comes, when the end of month comes, I'm for sure going to have double your revenue that you did this year or this month. And when you set those goals, it's a healthy level of competition. You're not ever wishing that they have less business. You're wishing that they do good and that you also do better, you know? And as you grow and want to do better, you are put in a position where you hold more responsibility. And when you hold more responsibility, you have to take care of others. As your company grows, your employees grow, and you're taking care of multiple people, more people than you were initially. You are now not obligated, but according to the laws of the universe, you would want to be more giving and give to those who are less fortunate. And when you do that, again, abundance is prevalent. So that's a mindset that I really want you guys to adopt, is that abundance is absolutely prevalent. And as long as you are operating within the highest version of yourself and understanding that there is no lack, there's no lack. You don't need to put a cap on everyone. There's enough for everyone to go around. Then you are never put in this lack mentality. Having a lack mentality versus an abundance mentality can make or break you. When you are going into business, obviously there are times where it's like a roller coaster where you have up months, you have down months, you have up weeks, you have down weeks, up days, down days. And when you become accustomed to this roller coaster of revenue, but still operate within the same emotional level of frequency or even a higher level of frequency rather than a frequency of scarcity, then you will naturally attract more abundance, more sales. The reason why is because you are going to attract exactly what you are, what you think about, and how you feel. So if you feel constricted when there's not enough money in the account to make the payroll or pay bills, then you are telling the universe, I feel constricted. This is the exact feeling I'm feeling. And it's just going to reflect that back to you. It's kind of like when you drop a little pebble in the water and it ripples. That's exactly how it is every time you have an intense feeling or emotion or thought, because the thought is going to elicit an emotion or feeling most of the time. When we drop a pebble of no matter what, it's always working out for me. No matter what, all my bills are paid. No matter what, I get paid to exist. Abundance is my birthright. When we drop that pebble into the universe says, okay, order up. Let's fulfill this order in due time. And here you go. Boom. It's like you just put it in the microwave, press the right buttons, and it goes beep, beep, ready. And when you have these ideations of wanting to be in a state of more abundance, but maybe you don't know how, this is one way that you can reset yourself. The first thing is you're likely not getting enough sunlight or fresh air, so go outside, take walks, hit your 10,000 steps a day. If that's not where you're currently at right now, hit your 5,000 steps a day. 2 is understand that you are not the direct facilitator of the result. Yes, you can put in action. Yes, you can do as much as you can to tell the universe, to help the universe, saying, hey, this is what I'm looking to achieve. So you're putting action, 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 but you need to be detached from the result. So that is where the law of detachment comes in. The law of detachment basically says, as much as you desire to have a particular thing or particular outcome, you must equally be able to release it from your thoughts, from your mind, from your emotions. Because when you do that, you then allow the universe to work in your favor. Imagine you're expecting a child to clean their room. And then you're going to just be standing over them, watching them, like not giving them any space to allow them to clean the room because you're just staring at them like, go, do it. Come on. And when you do that, it doesn't give you the exact result that you want. If anything, you're just causing more constraint on allowing the creation process to happen. So you need to step away, say, hey, universe, God, I would really love to have a profit of $1 million a month. And then you let it go. You walk away. And when you do that, you allow the universe to work in your favor and on your behalf. You need to give it the space to grow, the time to grow, the room to grow, and you still go about your daily action, but understand that you cannot be so tied to the end result. Another thing about manifesting abundance and money is that you can't really just be attached to a dollar amount. You have to understand that money is going to go where it's most useful and most desired, with an intention of already being allocated. So you have to allocate every single dollar that is going to be in your bank account in the future, even when it's not here yet. Because why would God give you the money in the first place? Why would the universe give you the money in the first place if you don't even know what to do with it? You're just going to have it sit there and be saved? But just getting killed by inflation? No. So you develop these different avenues, and each person is going to have their own avenues of where they choose to invest. Me personally, I really enjoy the whole life insurance policies for safety purposes. I enjoy trading bots that do crypto trades and or foreign exchange currency trades. I have access to like private equity trades, private placement trades. So when you have these tools in your tool belt, you know where you can allocate your funds. Other people really like investing in real estate, and that's their niche, that's their business, that's their forte, and all power to them. Some of them do long-term rentals, others do short-term rentals like Airbnbs. When you build up the person who you need to become in order to obtain that kind of money, you, again, like I said, have more responsibility, and therefore you would need to know how to allocate your funds, because God is not going to provide an exuberant amount of abundance to someone if, one, they don't even believe that they deserve it, two, don't have a place where they can allocate the funds appropriately in order to make more, because money likes to flow. Money doesn't like to stay stagnant. They call it a bank because it's like a river bank. Money has to constantly be flowing. That's why it's called cash flow. And when you understand that money is abundant, money needs to flow, you also have to not be so attached to the balance that's on your bank account. You know, it's gonna go up, it's gonna go down, it's gonna go up, it's gonna go down. It's a roller coaster. But when that roller coaster is happening, eventually you get to a place where you have enough, where you have been able to put it in different assets that will help your money to grow, like the examples I just gave earlier. And then eventually it's kind of a roller coaster that goes like this. It just continues to go up until it just I forget the name of the graph, but it's like you go slow and then it's exponential and it compounds and then just shoots right up. And when you create that system for yourself, because I'm telling you now, the system that's already been put in place by, I don't know where you live, but by most countries, including America, you are placed into a system that's not set up for you to win. It's just set up for you to be a piece of the system that allows you to eat, sleep somewhere decent, and then that's pretty much it. There's usually, most people are living like paycheck to paycheck. And when you feel that constraint, the only thing that will get you out of that financial constraint of living paycheck to paycheck is being able to take a risk on something and not being scared that your money just may never come back to you again. Ideally, the first thing, and this is most successful people, the first thing that they ever invest into is a mentor or a coaching program. And when they do that, their money then exponentially grows, because you have to have a teacher. The same way you have a teacher when you're learning a language, or you're in school trying to learn your ABCs and mathematics and science and history, you are also seeking a teacher in business, whatever niche or industry that may be, in order to help you grow and develop. Because right now you have no skill sets that you can exchange. You can have in exchange for value. You have nothing. You literally have nothing. So what really, how much is it worth for you to make an investment of 5K, 10K, 20K, 30K, no matter how you got it, even if it's your whole life's long savings, in order for you to just start to build the skill set where you can actually exchange something other than your time for money? That is exponential growth. And people don't always, especially if they've never done it before, they don't feel comfortable doing so. And that's exactly what gets rewarded. Doing the things that are uncomfortable are what gets rewarded. Taking the risk is what equals the reward. And I'm not saying take super crazy risk if that's not your risk tolerance, but you have to be willing to invest into something. And the best thing you can invest into is yourself, your knowledge, and then ideally, if you don't know that much, let's say, for example, about finance, then you shouldn't, one, try and learn about finance. Yes. But if you're like, okay, I'm someone, I'll give you an example of myself and one of my friends. So I'm someone who's been in the financial industry for over 5 years, and I have found multiple avenues and have access, because I've been building my network for that long, into different avenues of where I can invest my money that gives me a higher percent return than your typical 10% or less in the stock market. Now, I have a friend who works their typical 9 to 5. They've been saving up. They have about maybe 15K saved up, and they are literally holding on to their money with dear life. They're like, I can't let this go. I think what I want to buy is maybe a car. And that's what most people go and buy. I did the same thing. The first thing I ever bought when I had money, I was like, let's buy a car. I got a Tesla Model X Plaid, and then I also had a McLaren 720S Spider. So I was like, hey, I know you want to buy a car, but I'm telling you now, you probably don't want to buy a car, coming from someone who's bought 2 very expensive cars. And they were like, okay, well then maybe what should I go into? And again, this is not financial advice. I'm simply a financial consultant. This is for educational and informational purposes only. I said, well, I have access to these private placement trades. I have access to special trading bot. I have access to XYZ, another business venture. Honestly, I would really love for you to actually start seeing a return on your money rather than keeping it in a savings account that's sitting there getting only 0.02% interest every single year. It's garbage. What they give you in interest back on your money in the banks is garbage. And so I said, hey, here's a way where you can potentially get 5 to 10% return a month. A month. So why wouldn't you do that? And then they were sitting there a little bit conflicted because they're like, it took me so long to save up this much. And it's like, congratulations that you actually did save up that much, because now you can actually do something with it. When you have too little bit of capital to invest, you're going to have you're going to have minimal opportunities. So you can only invest into so much if you only ever save $2,000. What can you really get with that? Maybe a course here or there. And then hopefully that course, it's probably not going to be very hands-on, but hopefully that course you can follow along enough in order for it to actually give you a return on investment. This is literally, why would I sit there trying to learn something new from scratch or start my own business from scratch if I know someone who has access to basically a money printer, a legal money printer? It just doesn't make sense to me why I wouldn't take an opportunity like that, especially if I'm saying, especially if there's a guarantee, like, hey, if you don't make money on your money, you take your money back and you keep it. It's literally a guarantee. So and not guarantee that you have profits, because you can't guarantee profits without being SEC and FTC compliant. You can't do that. Um, but there is no loss. Your money is not gone. And because your money is not gone, it's still there. It's just sitting in a different account that can actually make you more money. And that's exactly what you need right now. If you're someone who's working a 9 to 5, if you're someone who's getting paid minimum wage, if you're someone who's getting paid even $30 an hour. Once I became a business owner and I started closing deals, I was like, I would feel disrespected if I walked into any place of work and they were like, yeah, your time is worth $30 an hour. I'd scoff at them and walk out, and I'd be like, how disrespectful. And not everyone is there at that point in their life as of yet, but I'm just like, I cannot fathom being able to go back to any of that. Not that I've ever worked a 9 to 5. I haven't. My first job was in a ice cream shop, and I got to work, I think, on weekends. And then when I was on summers in high school, then I also worked at the ice cream shop like maybe 2 times a week. Then after that, by the time I was 18 years old, I was hired at a hospital. So I wasn't getting paid minimum wage at a hospital at all. I was getting paid double usually at the minimum wage. And I only worked maybe 3 days a week. So I've never had like an official 9 to 5 besides like an internship that I did in high school. So I've never had a traditional 9 to 5. And when I was working at the hospital, there was a period of time where I was doing phlebotomy. So I'm drawing blood. And when you go and draw blood, you're only there for 3 hours and then you go home. So even if I was working 5 days a week, I'm only working for 3 hours. And when you have that change into operating a business, because it's going to be so much more work than you actually anticipated, you can't even imagine the level of time, energy, and effort and money it's going to cost and take for you to actually launch a successful business. I've severely underestimated it, and I'm sure most business owners do when they're first getting started just because they don't know. And so having opportunities where you can have your money grow for you without you needing to work for it, that's why I really enjoyed trading, because I'm like, wait a minute, I could set a trade, go to sleep, wake up, and it hits my take profit. Excuse me? Yes, sign me up, please. So I started learning how to trade after I left the hospital, before COVID. And when I learned that, I was like, okay, this passive income thing is real. It's semi-passive income because I'm still getting on calls, learning how to trade, understanding how to read the markets and what's changing in the market. But now you have AI. You have bots that are doing it better than you. So why not, if you have access to such things, put your funds in a place where your money can grow for you? Not sitting in a house, not sitting in equity in a house, not sitting in my bank account, not giving me nothing back, literally pennies back, not sitting in a stock market that can go up and then immediately crash the next year or the next 2 years, giving me a minor return annually. Like nothing else makes sense than to find avenues that are going to give you a return on investment, for sure, within the same year. And with a business, it's a little uncertain, unless you have a good mentor, or unless you have the tools that you need, unless you have enough credit available for ad spend, unless you have then the list goes on. There is no certainty in that. And that's where a lot of business owners feel unstable. I have a bunch of friends in business. A majority of them are males, and they all don't even feel like they can focus on exploring a relationship because they don't have enough consistent income. And because they don't have enough consistent income, it's because their business models are not built on a monthly reoccurring revenue cycle. So that's one way where you can provide consistency when you are starting a business. So if you are starting a business, I would try and look for something that has like a reoccurring revenue model. So that way you're not figuring out like, oh, where is money going to come from this month? I have no idea. So two of them are starting to implement that now. And because they are implementing that, that gives them more of a sense of stability. We have primarily 5 core values, both in males and females. And usually security is a really big one that is for males. Most males I talk to, they're like, yeah, security for sure is one of my values. There's security, there's love, there is joy, which you can also call happiness. There is, I forgot the other 2. Clearly not that important, but you get what I'm saying. So for most people, and you kind of need it. You need it to be, especially if you're going to be living in America, you need at least, I would say, a $60,000 annual income, because if not, you're scraping by, especially if you're living by yourself or paying rent by yourself. It is so, I'm not going to say expensive because I don't really use that word. The inflation is real. Let's just say that. The inflation is real, both in food, both in where you live, both in the people that you have around you that you have to take care of, whether that be your wife, whether that be your kids. And you have no other choice but to find ways to figure out how to make more money. That is literally your job, simply because you and the people you love will not be able to survive without it, let alone thrive. And that is what we're on this channel to do. We're learning how to thrive, learning how to rewire our mindset, understanding finance a little bit better. And the reason why I speak usually off script is because what I'm doing is I'm combining mindset with the values and equating that also to finances. And I'm mixing them all together. So you understand the importance of why you need to make more money, of why you need to set up a legacy plan for your future kids and or your siblings, why you need to have whole life insurance policies in order to even do that, why you need to find ways for you to make money without you needing to do anything besides come up with a lump sum and say, bet, let's invest it. Let's put it somewhere where it's going to grow for me, either guaranteed or at zero risk. So I won't lose anything if the investment doesn't go through. But when you guys gain, I gain too. And that is exactly the avenues that I put my money in personally, and that you can also do. You don't need to have a bunch of money. Honestly, I think it is and excuse me because I'm probably going to offend a lot of people, but I think it is absolutely idiotic for you to buy a primary single family residence, not simply because it's a primary single family residence. If you're putting down like a down payment of 10K, 20K, 30K, 40K, whatever it is, because one, that single family house, and you put that much investment into it, is not giving you a return on your money. That is considered a liability, not an asset, because it's not like it's a 4-family house. And again, I'm not even saying that because you bought the single family residence, that's why it's a bad idea. It's a bad idea because you can put that money in places that are giving you a return of 5 to 10%, sometimes even 15% a month in a different place. And you can replace your whole annual income if you did things chronologically in a different way. So what most people do is they're like, okay, they went to school, they have college debt. Some people don't have college debt. They go get a job. Then what do? They, at some point during that time, they likely bought a car. Liability. What do they do after they graduate and they're getting a wife or whatever the case may be? Now they're spending money on a girl. After spending money on a girl, still not having any passive income, they go, let's buy a house or let's move in together and get an apartment. As a man who is deciding to get into a relationship with a female when you are not financially stable, it is irresponsible, and you are bringing that female into an unstable environment when she was likely very well at peace on her own. And creating that instability for another person is selfish. After you go ahead and get the house, that is now another liability, you go and pop out some kids, which are very, very... I came across this person and they said, having kids in the city is a very expensive hobby. Having kids in the country is free labor. So you already understand that now you're taking care of another human being, or 2 human beings, or 3, depending on how many you have, or plus, right? Instead of, let's rewind. If we could go back in time and rewind that chronological order. And mind you, now after they have kids, now they're like in their 40s or 50s, and they're like, let's think about when we pass away, and now let's talk about life insurance. Now let's make some investments for retirement when you only have 10 to 15 years left. What are you doing? What are you doing? So, if we could go back in time to before this person was even 18 years old, if their parents were financially literate, they would have bought that kid a whole life insurance policy. And I'm not saying any whole life insurance policy. There's one particular one that took me 2 years to find, and there's only one company that does it. So if you want to know what that whole life insurance policy is and you want to apply for it, go ahead and click the link below. Buy the whole life insurance policy while they're a kid. As they grow up, depending on how much you put in there annually every single year, by the time they are 18, they have enough money to put down for a 10% down payment on a $3 million house. They have enough money to have their entire college tuition paid for. They have enough money where the parents didn't even need to buy them a car. The money is there, and it grows for you without you needing to do anything besides start and make the investment. Now the kid is 18 years old. His parents were financially literate. He goes and he takes a whole life insurance policy out on himself now. So now he has 2 policies that are going to be paying him. Or rather, not paying him, accumulating compound interest, which he can then borrow against later down the line. Or as fast as that year, if he decides to invest into a business of his own. This person decided, hey, because I had enough money in my whole life insurance policy, I want to go buy a car. But he knew that he wouldn't be able to buy a car if he didn't build his credit, because his parents taught him to be financially literate. So he's 18, he still doesn't have a car because he needs to build his credit. So what else did his parents do while he was still young? They added him on all of their credit cards. And let's say they bought a house after he was born, slap him on there as a cosigner. Now he has a mortgage on his house that's nearly paid off. Now he has an actual substantial credit score. Now authorized user accounts and primary accounts are not viewed as the same thing to the banks. So he knew that he needed to start taking out credit cards and loans just to show that he's responsible with credit. Now that he's done that, he's like, shit, I don't want to stay with mom and dad all these years for all this time. I want to move out. But he did one of 2 things. One, moved out of the country to some place that's very, very cheap and is cheaper than rent. That would be in America, and decided to live there internationally, and maybe put it on Airbnb when he wasn't staying there and decided to fly back home to his parents' house. Or 2, he decided to stay in the States, but instead of getting a single family home or renting an apartment, he decided to purchase not even purchase. Let's say he didn't even have enough money to invest into a down payment for the home. So what did he do? he went and started looking for 4-family houses, of which, let's say he did save up the 5% down payment or 10% down payment with the closing costs, and he was able to buy it. Cool. He now has rental income coming from there. Let's say he didn't have money to buy it. So he was able to look around and seek out distressed sellers for a multifamily property, or owners who lived out of state, and negotiated with them saying, hey, how about I seller finance this house from you? What does seller finance mean? It means that you are going to become the bank. You, current owner, you're going to become the bank for me, and I will pay you. Why would you say yes to something like this? Because one, I'm going to make sure that this is rented out, because I have a bunch of college buddies and they're going to be renting out the other 3 units and I'm going to live in one. So you make sure that you're going to get paid. You're not going to have a problem with that. And 2, it's because if I were to purchase this house from you right now outright, you would be subject to capital gains tax. And when you're subject to capital gains tax, I think you're like getting hit like 30%. So why not keep money in your pocket? Because you just want to retire. You just want to have steady income. I can provide that steady income from you if you're willing to be the bank for me. No-brainer. Literal no-brainer. After that, because he has all this income coming from the multifamily property, and he has that whole life insurance policy set up, let's say, a year's passed, and from that rental income that he has, he could buy a car. So he goes and he buys a car. But he's smart enough to know not to buy the car in cash, because then it will not show up on his credit report. So he decided to go ahead and get a loan from the bank, pay their interest, and pay off the car early within 2 years in order to be able to show something that is paid off on his credit report. Now he has the car that he really wanted, and he could still get it around and do whatever he wants. And mind you, he was driving because he couldn't afford to buy a car, or because he didn't have good credit before. He decided to go on a government auction website and just buy a car for $1,000, $2,000, whatever it was. And he drove a beater, and he was made fun of by all his friends. But at the end of the day, who has more money? Who's going to actually be able to build a solid foundation and actually be able to afford a family at the age of 22 years old? The one who is like, oh, well, I don't need to work. I'm just going to, my parents give me allowance, and I'm just going to do work at the pizza shop maybe on the weekends if I feel like it. No. The person who was most educated first, and I'm not talking about school education, I'm talking about financial literacy education, was able to set himself up for financial success. And then when he's graduating college, maybe he got into a great school, got a scholarship, and he was able to go to these networking events. And through these networking events, he got opportunities presented to him where they're saying, hey, you need to drop 20K, or you need to drop 50K. You need to drop 100K to be able to come in on this investment. So one thing that successful people do that most people don't is they figure out a way. When there is no way, they make a way. And because you make a way, the universe rewards you for it. God rewards you for it. There is no not being rewarded for taking the risk and putting in the work that you needed to put in. But it's not, again, it is not to be confused with being attached to the result, because that's not what we're doing. The result of all of this happening and things happening within someone's favor is simply that they are living in alignment with who they truly are, and their why is strong enough for them to be able to move forward, along with something that they're moving away from. So let's say that this kid's fear was growing up, with a financially illiterate family, going broke, or his family disowning him, and now he has to figure it out, and he's homeless. He doesn't have any place to live because he didn't decide to listen to what his parents said, etc., etc. And now he's stuck, and he's homeless, and has no car, and has no job, and etc., etc. Right? You can just spiral. while he's equally running towards, I want to be able to have an amazing life with my future wife and my future kids. I don't want to be obligated to work a 9 to 5 or a 9 to 9 because I'm going to work and operating a business, because then I have no time to spend with the people that I love. So I'm going to make my financially savvy decisions early as much as possible. Why? So that way I can have enough towards my end goal to be able to set my family up for financial success, to spend as much time with them as I want to, because what's important to me is spending time with the people that I love and care about. That is a stronger why than just, oh, I want to because I want to hit $1 million, because I want to be a millionaire. Go ahead, keep saying that to yourself with no plan of action, with no vision to actually take on that responsibility and not have the ideation of who you need to help when you become that. Because it's about who you can be in service to. It's not about you. So for example, this example person was in service to his family. Another person can be in service to children. Another person can be in service to liberation of women's rights or freedom in countries where women can't have an education, etc., etc. When you have a vision that is worth $1 million and worth dedicating your life for, you will have it. It will be given to you as long as you are able to execute. Without further ado, this is Des Pena, aka Trillionaire Woman, signing off, and I hope you have a great one.